Hi, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Hello. You're from the Policy Research Associates,
Yes.
right? Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Titus and Chair Hevesy. My name is Kristin Lupfer, and I'm the Project Director for SAMHSA's SOAR Technical Assistance Center at Policy Research Associates. I would like to thank the committees for the opportunity to testify today and for all the work that you've done for people experiencing homelessness in New York State. I'm going to speak specifically today about the SOAR initiative, and I'm glad that I actually followed Bill Panapinto and where he mentioned kind of special needs and some alternative funding sources, because I think that the SOAR program kind of lends to that issue. So SOAR stands for SSI, SSDI, Outreach, Access, and Recovery. SOAR is an approach that helps states increase access to mainstream benefits for people with mental illness, co-occurring substance use disorders, and other serious medical conditions who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness and who are unable to work. Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, and Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI, are disability income programs administered by the Social Security Administration, or SSA, that provide both Medicaid and or Medicare health insurance to individuals who are eligible. The application process for SSI and SSDI is complicated and difficult to navigate. Nationally, only about 35% of individuals who apply for these benefits are approved on initial application, and appeals can take an average of a year or more to complete. For people who are homeless or who are returning from institutions like jails, prisons, or hospitals, access to these programs can be extremely challenging. Approval on initial application for people who are homeless or who have no one to assist them is about 10 to 15%. And for those who have a mental illness, substance use issues, or co-occurring disorders that impair cognition, the application process is even more difficult. Yet accessing these benefits is really often a critical first step in recovery. So SOAR works through three key strategies. First, strategic planning that really brings key state and local stakeholders together to collaborate, to establish a process for submitting and processing SSI and SSDI applications. We train case managers on how to use SAMHSA's Stepping Stones to Recovery curriculum. It's available in person and online, and it includes a step-by-step explanation of an improved SSI, SSDI application process. And we have a Leadership Academy program that creates strong local leaders who can then support these SOAR-trained case managers who are coordinating local SOAR programs. And we provide technical assistance to states and communities, including support for action plan implementation, sustainability, assistance with tracking outcomes, in order to really document success and help access additional resources. So we know that SOAR works. We see it in the daily transformations of people's lives. It's in the excited emails on a Friday afternoon when a SOAR practitioner receives notice of a first approval. It's in the phone calls from consumers sharing their concerns, getting connected with a SOAR provider, and soon locking the door to their first apartment. It's in the email from Sheila. The day my SOAR case manager reached out to me and showed me I existed is the happiest moment in my life. SOAR providers and the applicants they serve have received these notices of approval over 26,000 times. The work we do with SOAR is really focused on recreating these moments. We know that SOAR works. So the SOAR TA initiative evolved to address these barriers in the receipt of SSI and SSDI among adults with disabilities who are experiencing homelessness and who were unable to work. The correlation between disabilities and homelessness is high. 42% of individuals experiencing homelessness in 2013 reported having a severe mental illness or chronic substance use problem. And the gap between what we know about treating people with mental illness and getting services to the people who need them is well known. And key to accessing those services and housing is access to entitlements. So for persons with mental illnesses who are homeless, the Social Security disability programs can provide a steady source of income and health insurance, making it possible for them to secure housing, treatment, and other needed supports. So despite high levels of disability among people who are homeless, many who are potentially eligible never apply for these benefits. And among those who apply, the chance of being approved for SSI and SSDI is very low, and without someone who can take an active role to assist with documentation of disability. Like I mentioned, approvals on initial application for applicants who are homeless range between 10 and 15%. Denials typically result from SSA's inability to contact the individual, missed appointments, and more generally, the lack of adequate documentation to support the application. Once an application is denied, the wait for a hearing at the administrative law judge level, where 2/3 of appellants are approved, averages 404 days, and just one additional day homeless is a long day. And although appeals are often successful, most applicants get discouraged and don't appeal. So people who are experiencing homelessness, they face a lot of challenges when applying to SSA for disability benefits. These challenges generally fall into two types: those related to their physical and mental health problems and the nature of homelessness, and those related to more systemic issues. People who are homeless are more likely than those who have never been homeless to have serious mental illnesses, alone or in combination with other disabilities, such as cognitive disorders, chronic physical health conditions, and substance use disorders. Disability based on a mental illness or cognitive disorder is often more difficult to document than other disabilities due to inconsistent treatment histories and difficulty in finding medical records for people who have been treated in many places over a long period of time. In addition, people who are homeless may not remember when or where they were hospitalized or why. And lastly, many do not know, do not understand, or are reluctant to admit that they have a mental illness. And among people who are homeless, those with substance use disorders often do not apply or are discouraged from applying because they believe incorrectly that they are not eligible for SSA disability programs, regardless of their other disabling conditions. And while it's true that persons disabled solely on the basis of substance use are not eligible, many people who are homeless having co-occurring conditions that do qualify them for benefits. And beyond these individual level challenges, barriers inherent in the system of care also exacerbate a person's difficulty applying for benefits. And chief among these is that most case managers, are unable to assist people who are homeless with SSI or SSDI because they have neither the time nor the expertise. Case managers who try to help applicants are frustrated by a lack of contact with SSA and a lack of understanding about how to make the process work more effectively. So the SOAR TA Center has been collecting outcomes of SSI or SSDI applications that were submitted using this improved SOAR process from 2006 until June 30 of this year. And since SOAR began, more than 22,800 people who were experiencing or at risk of homelessness have been approved for SSI or SSDI upon initial application using the SOAR approach. An additional 3,500 people whose applications were denied initially were approved on reconsideration or appeal. And so taken together since 2006, the SOAR approach is responsible for assisting over 26,300 people who were experiencing or at risk of homelessness to access SSA disability benefits. So SOAR benefits consumers receipt of SSI and SSDI and their respective health insurance programs, Medicaid and Medicare, can provide access to needed treatment, services, and housing. These are the kind of obvious benefits of this program. It'll facilitate the recipient's ability to think about other life goals, such as employment. But SOAR also benefits caseworkers. Caseworkers who are SOAR trained are more effective in their work, and they report increased job satisfaction. SOAR reduces a lot of frustration in navigating this complicated bureaucratic process and provides time to focus on services that enhance quality of life for the people that they're serving. SOAR benefits agencies. Health providers see SOAR as a way to increase Medicaid and Medicare revenues for otherwise uncompensated care. Others view SOAR as a way to diminish the possibility of a return to institutional life among persons who are transitioning from prison or jail or who are being discharged from state psychiatric hospitals. And SOAR benefits states. States are looking to recover funds spent on temporary assistance or the safety net and TANF for people who are eligible for SSI. Once an individual is approved for SSI and Medicaid, treatment providers can retroactively bill Medicaid for services provided up to 90 days prior to the protective filing date. So this results in reimbursement for previously uncompensated care, as well as payment for ongoing treatment. And in 2013, states reported an average of $7,400 per person in Medicaid reimbursement as a result of SOAR. So helping this one person get approved for benefits was an incredible return for those treatment providers. SOAR can also prevent homelessness for people who are at risk. It's been extremely promising in some implementing communities for persons who obtain SSI or SSDI eligibility they are increasing their chances of obtaining housing, because even subsidized supportive housing providers are reluctant to admit tenants who can't contribute anything towards their rent. And so usually both the subsidy and 30% of the tenant's disability check are required for housing providers to kind of balance the cost of operating their programs. So, of course, increased access to housing, as we've heard all day today, results in cost savings to other systems such as jails, shelters, and state hospitals. With regard to both jail and prison systems, developing and implementing an initiative to access SSI or SSDI as part of transition planning requires a commitment by the jail or prisons administration. And we've seen this incredible success with SOAR implementation at the Sing Sing Correctional Facility. So staff from the Center for Urban Community Services in New York City, they help to complete pre-release applications for potentially eligible inmates. And they currently have an 86% approval rate, which is much higher than the national average, on 255 applications that were approved in an average of 85 days. So folks are being released from Sing Sing to New York City with an income so they can go directly into housing rather than going through the homeless service system. So SOAR was first introduced to New York State through two statewide forums in 2007 and 2008, and the purpose was really to bring kind of key stakeholders from the state together to talk about the need for SOAR, the best way to implement the program. There have been follow-up meetings and regional forums kind of across the state, and I won't kind of go into all the different locations there. You can take a look at that. And we've had train-the-trainer programs and trainings around the state. And a lot of strong local leadership and kind of implementation has been going on and increasing in recent years. Since implementing SOAR, case managers throughout New York have received 565 favorable SSI, SSDI applications using SOAR, and they have an approval rate of 68% in an average of 80 days. So this is a significant improvement over the average approval rate of 10 to 15% for unassisted claims. And current SOAR activity is growing, and we're doing a lot of work both in the capital region and other outlying counties. And we can continue to see additional progress. And so moving forward, what we really hope is to identify additional funding and staff time that can be dedicated to the SOAR initiative in New York State. It's been shown across the country that when states are able to really dedicate staff time, dedicate case manager time to serving individuals through the SOAR process, that the state will attain a much higher approval rate and be able to help address the state's most vulnerable individuals and help them progress on the road to recovery. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, just one quick question.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't know anything about SOAR. It sounds wonderful.
It is.
My question is about point of contact. How are you contacting individuals? Let me just say hypothetically, in a substance abuse, say, outpatient scenario, how do you get in contact and let people be aware of this particular program?
So that's the biggest challenge, is access to this service kind of statewide and kind of program-wide. And that's one of our goals from the SAMHSA SOAR TA Center, is really to help increase that availability of the service. So we have pockets of programs that have been able to either take part of a staff position or an entire staff position and say, you know, we're going to train this person to be an expert in helping people get on disability benefits. We're going to, you know, implement SOAR. But not every program's been able to do that because their case managers are, you know, overworked. They have huge caseloads, and this is a complicated process. And so it's not available everywhere, and we have to kind of, you know, we use our networks when we can to kind of find and connect people to the service where it is, where it might be close by to them. So kind of our goal is to expand the effort so that it is available kind of to people in every county in the state.
Okay. Thank you for your testimony. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.